Alright, so I got a little project I'm going to do today. I'm going to repurpose these old legs from an old roll-around scaffolding. It's a pretty common system. The two cross pieces are still downstairs, but these are the two ends. So when it's all put together, it gives you a platform to stand on when you're working, and you can roll it around, and then you can adjust the height by locking in the cross pieces into these different locations. Even Harbor Freight sells a cheap version of these now. This was actually originally came off of a construction site. They were throwing it out because somebody had probably thrown it out a window or off a roof at some point, or fell off a truck, I don't know. And this leg got bent pretty badly. Doesn't look too bad, but when you put it all together, it wobbles. And if you're on a work site and it's a a union site with OSHA around and everything, you can't be having that kind of an issue. So they were going to throw it out, but my brother, who was helping me work on my house back in the day, he said, well, we should grab it because it's free and we could use it working here in the house. And it worked out really well. I actually have two of these. One of them's in perfect condition. This one, though, lately it's just kind of been in the way down in the basement there in the workshop. I hadn't gotten around to throwing it out. I was going to scrap it for scrap metal. Then I looked at it and I realized, well, these bars right here are pretty hefty. So it makes sense to me that I might want to cut these out and put them in my scrap metal pile for stock.
Well, I was just sitting here editing and realized that the GoPro is picking up way too much wind noise. So I cut the audio for this section. And basically I'm just talking about how these casters are really good and heavy-duty casters, and I'm going to try and salvage those, and how I'm going to use the rest of this metal to make a project. So let's get going.
Starters, I'm going to try and get these casters off, which they screw in. So that's ought to be interesting. These probably haven't been off in a long time. Well, I'm sure if I put some heat to them, they'll come out. But I honestly don't even know if it's worth it to go through the trouble of taking them off. Ball bearings are pretty rusty. I was thinking my 850-pound air-cooled welder could benefit from some heavy casters like this. I think maybe what I'll do, I'm going to use the plasma cutter to cut these up anyways. I think I'll just cut these off right here to save them. So this is my ESAB PCM 875 plasma cutter. It has 60 amp capacity, and it's a heck of a nice machine. Oh, I'll tell you the high today. It's April 14th, the day before tax deadline, but it's a Saturday, so we get an extra couple days. And because we're in Massachusetts and Monday's Patriots Day, we actually get 2 days. So our tax deadline is April 17th. Anyways, I can't believe that it was in the high 50s today. I think it may have even topped out at 60. And the temperature has plummeted like a rock. And we got threat of freezing rain coming in, so I'm getting kind of cold. I've been at this thing for a couple hours at least, but it's getting there. Well, for anybody who hasn't guessed it yet, it's time to let the cat out of the bag. I'm making a fork attachment for the front end loader on the Oliver 770. So last night when I finished doing all my cutting and everything, I ended up sliding it onto the bucket for test fit. And then I'm using these as my forks. And I just kind of jammed them in there, again, test fit. And of course, you can see the one on the right's pointing up too high of an angle, or the one on the left is too low. Pick your, whatever you, well, it's actually, this one on this side's too high. So the reason is because that angle that I cut on the end here needs to be more like this. So I got to do more cutting on that, but I got to get out the plasma cutter and get it all set up and everything. And the problem with that is today we're burning. It's April 21st or 22nd, I forget which, but we're running out of burning days here in Massachusetts, and we've had so much rain. It was really tough to find, between work and everything else, it was tough to find time to burn. So we started the burn pile, and my 15-year-old's hard at work feeding it with the stuff he's pulling with the four-wheeler and the wagon. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and run with this today. Oh, another interesting thing. Yesterday I was test fitting this. I jammed this in there to test fit it. This was the side that I had cut, I guess, second, because it was still really hot. So guess what happened? I left it in there. It cooled down and the hole must have shrunk, because now this thing's jammed in there pretty tight. Which might work to my favor. So my eventual plan is to cut this angle so that it matches the other one and get these two forks in there, and then I'll figure out a way. I'll either weld them in place and make it permanent, or I'll make a temporary deal. The other thing I was playing around with the idea of doing was cutting some holes here and then welding some plates with threads in them so that I could put big bolts in here to tighten them down to grip onto the bucket here. But for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that big strap, I'm going to wrap it around the whole unit here and strap it up. So, strapped on. That strap's not the greatest, but it'll have to do, hopefully. So there's our measly little brush fire, but we're going to get that hopping in a minute. So this is what's left of a massive brush pile we had here. We burned a lot of it already, but the problem was that at some point the loader just didn't want to pick anything else up. It just kept pushing it forward and higher up on the pile. So that stuff's kind of packed in there tight and high on the pile. So the idea is that hopefully with the forks, we'll be able to drive the forks into the pile and actually scoop some of that up. So my son, when he sees how little I take on the first load, I figure, okay, I'll take more on the second load, and I bent those things like nothing. And let me tell you, that steel might not look it, but it was actually pretty strong. Not strong enough for a heavy load like that, though.
That is hot.
Yeah. So the forks idea is it's a good idea. We just need to to find better metals for the.
You should go to the scrap pile and get, you know, those crowbars, whatever you have, the pry bar. Try to find something like that.
Yeah. No.
I know that Butch has some stuff underneath his thing that are like that.
No. This is working better, well, at least with the.
That thing's working pretty good.
With the, yeah, with just the mount on there.
Yeah. Can you imagine how much we would get if we had the long extension?
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, we can only do like one scoop at a time, big like that, and let it burn down. But sitting and watching the pile burn sure beats constantly having to go back and forth loading it. Especially when it gets going like this, you can't even get near it to throw them on there.
Yeah, no. That's why the back goes good.
Yep. Well, it's quite a few hours later. Got quite a bit done. Of course, now it takes forever to get it all out because the coals are so deep. Dig through the coals and end up actually finding more bits of wood that never quite burnt because they were buried in coals. So we just keep wetting it down, and then every once in a while I stir it with the backhoe, and then we wet it down again. But you can see all the big piles are gone.